Good morning and welcome. This is, of course, Breakfast Extra, and my name is Mazino Appeal. Now, there's a question that's been bothering me, and I'm wondering if it's bothering you as well. At what point does a political party stop being a political party and quietly turns into a courtroom series? Because right now, if you want to know who exactly leads a party in Nigeria, the last place you should check is the party office or secretariat. So you go to court. That's where the real decisions are being made now. A convention is held, people gather, speeches are made, leaders emerge, then a judge looks at it and says, nah, that didn't follow due process, cancel. Another group conducts its own congress, different names, different outcomes. Another court says INEC should not recognize that one either. So now you have leaders who are not quietly leaders, not really. Recognized, but not recognized. In power, but waiting for interpretation. And it keeps on going. One ruling settles something, another one reopens it. A faction is affirmed today, questioned tomorrow, and then sent back for retrial next week. So at some point, it starts to feel less like politics and more like case management. Almost like leadership is being processed. And INEC is doing its job. It's there, sitting in the middle. Well, maybe not really doing its job, because it doesn't seem to be in control. Because legally, it can't just pick a side. It has to wait for judgments, for clarifications, for next certified true copy. Names go up, names come down, and you begin to wonder whether INEC is supervising politics or whether it's simply just updating a very tense group chat. The courts, on their part, are doing their own job. Rules matter, after all. Procedures matter. If a party ignores its own constitution or disobeys an order, there has to be a consequence, and that's what they're there for. That part is not controversial, and we understand that. What's harder to ignore is how often we now end up here. How quickly internal disagreements jump straight into litigation. How normal it has all just become. Because ideally, this is supposed to happen inside the party. Arguments, negotiations, alignments, maybe even a bit of shouting, Seth. Then eventually a decision is made, and we know who the leader is. It's messy, yes, but internal. What we don't know is this. We have to recognize the fact that while the courts are doing their business and INEC seems to be working with constitution, well, it doesn't seem like democracy anymore. And that's the problem. It's very interesting when you look at it. The courts, well, like I said, are doing their part. And it's not that they don't know what they're supposed to do. It's that they are, well, built under certain regs and rules. Procedures matter, like I said from before. Now, there's no real consequence when these kinds of things happen because it's all messed up. And of course, we can't track anymore. And how quickly internal disagreements also jump straight into these litigation matters, that's something that beats me. Ideally, this is supposed to happen inside the party, like I said from before. They're supposed to argue, negotiate, and align. And then after that, there's supposed to be a party leader. And all of this stays internal. But what we have instead is something more external, more formal, more legal than political. You can win a position in court now, secure recognition through a judgment, establish authority with a ruling, all valid, all constitutional, and then a court simply says, hey, no, leave that one. So it leaves gaps. Because, legal legitimacy is one thing, political acceptance, that's a totally different thing. And the two don't always arrive together. So where does that leave the idea of democracy? Well, it's not broken. That would be too easy. The institutions are active, they're working, the courts are functioning, there is accountability, at least on paper, but something feels stretched, like a system leaning too heavily on one arm. And if parties cannot settle their own disputes, if leadership is repeatedly decided outside of the party structure, then that leaves something to ask a question for. If the loudest arguments are no longer happening in meeting rooms, but in legal filings, then the center of gravity has definitely shifted. And that raises a quiet, uncomfortable thought. When Nigerians eventually go to the polls, come 2027, are they choosing leaders shaped by political consensus, or are they choosing leaders that survived legal scrutiny? That is your question this morning. Welcome once again. This is Breakfast Xtra. My name is Mazino Appeal. Queen Celestine joins me this morning. Queen.
Morning, Mazino.
Your latest look into the court documents. Do you know who's leading what party now? Because I get
right
confused.
now, between me and you, a court will just have to decide.
Even on Sunday mornings, they decide somebody. No, this is a new one.
I tell you, it's so funny how most of our monologues always start with a question, because it's like Nigeria just have this big sign of question mark, like what is going on every single time.
Indeed.
And again, there's still argument. The Supreme Court has come, but there's still argument.
Listen, I think this week I'm going to take out this week and do a very proper research on all the parties and all the.
Please, when you're done, just tell me how it is. Do a strip for me. I would understand.
I will. In any case, welcome. This is Breakfast Xtra. Let's get started, shall we?
Good morning, and of course, it's Breakfast Xtra. Today, we begin in Lagos with a tragic story that has shocked the nation. The killing of a 17-year-old UTMA candidate has raised fresh concerns about safety, youth vulnerability, and the growing threat of violent crime. Arrests have been made, but questions remain about justice and prevention. Then we turn to the economy, where Nigeria's rising debt profile is once again under scrutiny. With strong opinions from both government and critics, the debate continues. Are we borrowing for growth or drifting into fiscal risk? From there, we mark World Press Freedom Day, reflecting on the role of the media in protecting human rights, strengthening democracy, and navigating the challenges of misinformation and shrinking civic space. We also look at Nigeria's new leadership role at the African Union Peace and Security Council, and what it means for regional stability, counter-terrorism efforts, and the country's influence across the continent. Finally, we head to Mali, where ongoing conflict and shifting global alliances are raising serious concerns about security in the Sahel and the future of peace efforts in the region. It's a packed show this morning, I tell you, but stay with us. Of course, it's always Breakfast Xtra. But first, let's do the dailies. Mazino.
Huh? What? Sorry, I thought we were doing the daily straight up. A conversation, I guess. I wanted to start it today on a very personal one because it's been a very interesting weekend for me. Apart from all the individual news bits that we've been hearing that leave us confused, I also have some personal trials that I'm going through right now.
Sorry.
I can't tell it on air, but trust me, the personal trials.
Okay, I hear you. Before we do the dailies, let's go on a short break. When we return, we continue. Stay with us.
We'll be back. And you're welcome. During the dailies this morning, we're going to be starting from the Sunday Sun. So I'm going to get right to it.
Yes.
So Sunday Sun's got this front and center for the first big headline. ADC leaders move to stop Obi Kwankwaso's exit. As more cracks appear in opposition parties' 2027 plans. It's easy now, the courts will decide. Ex-Anambra Kano governors perfect move from ADC may settle for NDC. And Dele Momodu, it's stupid to say only Southerners can be president in 2027. Insecurity will end when Nigerians want it to end. At the top for the Daily Sun, FG summons South African envoy over xenophobic attacks. And to our beloved brothers in South Africa, Fani Kayode writes a letter. Bauchi Governor Bala Mohammed dumps PDP for APM. Plateau 4 killed in mining sites. And finally, for the Daily Sun, you need good nose to succeed in perfume business, says Awa Ibrahim.
So once you have a flu, you take a break from your business.
You take a break, yeah. All right, what else do we have?
Let's check the Tribune, shall we?
Tribune. All right.
Right, Senator, jitters in ADC over planned defection of Obi and Kwankwaso.
This is getting messy. It's a bit too messy.
But well, we still have few.
Where would they go now? This would be very interesting if they end up in the...
I tell you, this job is interesting.
Wow.
It's a lot of detail.
I don't think I will be able to keep up until 2027 because it's just, it's like a huge jigsaw puzzle. I've never seen an election bit, pre-elections, like pre-election, what do you call it? Conditions or what you want to call it? as messy as what we have.
This is
it's
a turmoil that we're in.
Yeah.
While we are moving to NDC, Galadima says Atiku's camp alleges betrayal. Will present credible candidates, ADC assures. Finally, Bauchi governor supporters dump PDP for APM.
Well, you can't blame them. I mean, the APC is embroiled in so much wahala currently, especially the past 1 month. It's nothing but who wants to lead, who's the neck, who's the this, who's the that. I mean,
who's the shoulder?
Who's the shoulder? So I wouldn't. I wait to see where this will go, and I think it's going to be very dramatic.
I wait.
Very dramatic, especially for Obi himself.
I tell you.
So
he also says that bandits kill 3 at mobile police force camp in Kwara. Pregnant woman, 3 minors killed in Plateau. That's on page 8.
Sad.
The insecurity is screaming so loud. Tinubu to Nigerians, my social contract with you on security and economy is still intact.
Yeah,
well, we wait and see.
He tried to blame insecurity over the week on personal vendetta, by the way.
No, I don't think that is it.
That's what he said. But we'll talk about that when we get to the script.
Because it's in the strip, exactly.
Yeah.
About a roundtable to unlock 80 billion naira Southwest Community Program. I like all these budgets flying here and there. PDP leaders must unite to plan for 2027 elections. Are we just figuring that out? Even with 31 governors, many lawmakers, APC is still jittering, says PDP chieftain. And right at the top, Workers' Day tragedy. 3 unionists die in auto crash in Kwara. Midnight fire destroys NLC office in Sokoto.
Yes, of course. Somebody's just trying to get rid of a couple of files.
See.
The Nation is up next, ladies and gentlemen. Obi Kwankwaso set to dump ADC for NDC. This is going to be tough. New platform to be unveiled on Monday, says Buba Galadima. Why they are abandoning Atiku and company. Amechi, my supporters don't abuse like Obi Atiku camp. Now, remember when we were talking about this Obi Kwankwaso issue? And somebody says, what about Atiku? As in, because they didn't see him relinquishing his ambition. And I had always thought that this was not going to end well. I didn't think that he was going to let Obi be principal. So I guess that we've come to it now. This is where we are. We saw it coming, quite frankly. So let's start looking at the NDC for more drama. I'm not hoping bad for them. I'm just saying that, of course, with such big names as Obi and Kwankwaso, you should expect that there will be drama, because that one is also going to open its own kettle of fish. I don't know.
Whatever
cabinet of crows. Let's put it so. There's more on the Nation. Bauchi governor quits PDP for Allied People's Movement, declares Senate bid. And 2027 Uzodinma Izunaso in high stakes Orlu Senate showdown. Sandy Ono picks PDP presidential nomination form. Congratulations. At the very bottom, FFK, my ugly encounter with racist South African classmate in the UK. Thank you very much. Let's move on now. What do we have? Oh, hang on a second. Let's do an advert break. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with the dailies because we've got so much more. We'll be back. Welcome back. Before we left, we were doing the dailies, the front pages at least, and telling you what to expect if you decide to pick one of these up this morning. Queen, what do we have next?
I have one of your favorite papers, the Sunday Vanguard.
Trust.
Let's do that. Right at the center, fresh alarm over 2027 polls. Ex-rec list dangerous sectors of Electoral Act 2026. Says election result transmission and IRAV used successfully to conduct 105 off-session elections sabotaged. I hope it's going to be better in 2027. And right below, how dangerous Tokunbo cars enter Nigerian roads. How much are people earning for them to actually afford good cars? They can only afford what they need because transportation is crazy. They can as well buy what they can. Unsuspecting Nigerians buy to their detriment. Experts blame weak laws, regulations, customs, FRSC, transportation ministry officials, and others.
I smell regulation coming again. There's going to be some regulation that's going to make it harder for Nigerians to actually purchase cars.
Because the custom is outrageous.
It's already outrageous, but then these regulations would be positioned to your advantage, so you do not buy these cars as traps.
Yeah.
But then it's only going to make it even more difficult for anyone to have a car because they're going to have to pass through certain scrutinies and all, and that just raises the price. It's already expensive. You can't get a car now. I mean, we did the math the other day. As a graduate, I bought my first car right after school, while I was still in school. I bought my first car while I was still in school. Started working while I was in school, and my first few salaries bought me a car. Today, your first few salaries can't buy you squat.
When you say few salaries, just
3 months.
indicate which
3 months.
Just take some years.
Years.
For the kind of car
you mean
that
now?
you want. Yeah.
No. It's really bad right now.
It's
So
terrible.
while it was just a few months from before, now,
I can remember the first car I got. Between the price then and the price now, let's just leave it.
it's like a billion
I'll
percent.
probably join and just get a loan and borrow. Of
Okay.
course, beside we have xenophobia. What South Africans should not forget, says Fanny Kayode, and 3 varsity students killed in road crash. That's terrible. Right at the top, Obi Kwankwaso set to quit ADC, announced new platform. Buba Galadima may head to NDC. Obedience speak of high-level talks. ADC vows to field candidates, reject 2027 exit claims. PDP leaders hold crucial meeting today. Governor Mohammed leads loyalists to 8 p.m. Wike's ally picks party presidential form. And of course, last but not the least, Hilda Basi on creatives chasing virality.
Yeah, what about them? What? She wants to talk about creatives chasing. Of course, they're chasing virality.
Everybody's chasing
She
virality.
did it, didn't she?
Well, it was intentional. You have to be intentional about these things because it's only when you go viral that brands get to see you, and of course that's how you make money. So if not, you'll be sitting there and just posting for posting.
Oh, so the brands come after you go viral.
Oh, just did you?
Okay, cool. Sunday Punch is up next. US-Iran war. FG earns 5 trillion naira oil windfall amid rising fuel hardship. That doesn't quite count. Doesn't make sense because my pocket is still bleeding. March, April earnings surpassed budget estimate after oil hits $120. Refiners reject Brent pricing. Demand cheaper local crude. At the top for the Sunday Punch, inside cold-blooded murder of Delta artist by ex-SARS officer. So he's ex-SARS. 2027, we hear this always on all the papers this morning. Obi Kwankwaso defection plan threatens coalition consensus and deal. The side of the front page for the Sunday Punch has Bala quits PDP Makinde set to follow, and bandits kill 3 choir cops as police track suspects. And Bishop disagrees with Adeboye on marriage advice to men. Under this, how Lagos couple tortured adopted daughter to death. Hid corpse, sad. And no crossfire, soldiers fired through my nephew's door. Slain couple's uncle. That's very sad. And that's the full front page for the Sunday Punch. What else?
I think let's do the Sunday Telegraph. I think I saw something there that was really interesting, and I think that's the first thing I would say. So it says by Pastor Adeboye, God already decided Nigeria's next president. I love that. Nigeria, just wait. 2027 is coming. Why 2025 records of 16 trillion naira FAAC windfall failed to ease economic pain by Rewan Yusuf and others. Just going to leave that there. Fresh crisis hit ADC as Obi Kwankwaso new exit. Leadership reluctant to commit to zoning Utomi. How delegations failed to stop Atiku. Galadima hits at announcement tomorrow. Tanko insists on confirmation. Will field candidates in all elections, says spokesman. Chinese brands disrupt Nigeria's auto market with cheap high-tech cars.
Of course.
Threatens Innocent and other local brands. Well,
I keep wondering why they have the upper hand, and we have Edison and local brands here. We have the Mecanos and all.
We're already, working with Chinese in terms of agriculture and everything. What's wrong with automobile? And the cars are really nice.
They are nice. They are high-tech, just like the paper says. I've been in a couple, and they're so quiet. But the finishing are not as good as what you'd expect, but they are all right.
Half bread is better than loaf.
Half bread, Chinese bread is better than spoiled agege bread.
Like the...
Oh, I'm not knocking our auto industry. I think there's plenty of potential. I just think we don't get enough investments inside of it, because if we've had Edison here for decades, how come it's not flooded our streets yet?
Good
It's
thing.
very sad.
Apart from the small cars.
Yeah.
But anyway, of course, I still have a few. It says Bola Mohammed defects to APM. Nigeria ready to feed itself. Remi Tinubu says rate 7th, 8th, 9th Senate's best in performance. Interesting. And Tinubu's re-election's done deal, says Professor Alkali. Says presidents can't lose with governors. Now will support his second term. We don't want opposition to unite.
Okay, I think that's about all the dailies we have for
You have
today.
the nation?
No, we haven't. We've taken the nation already.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's all the dailies we have for today. Let's get ready for our conversations this morning. Do stand by. We're going to be starting rather solemn. It's a report by Victor Mbadike. And yeah, that one kind of like got me. I hope I can hold it together when we get to talking with him. So do stay with us. We'll be right back with our very first conversation, and that's our big report. And you're welcome. It's time for our strips. Every single weekend, we get a couple of editorial cartoons from the dailies all through the week, and we talk about them, analyze them. We laugh about it, but the truth is, while your mouth is open, we're slipping the truth. Because, hey, these conversations have to be made digest for you to absolutely see the pain. So let's laugh at our pain. Welcome. Queen is also going to be joining to help analyze these. Thank you very much, Queen. Celestine. Let's start with our very first one this morning. If you do not mind, producers, who, by the way, want to kill me this morning with so much. Now, let's start. Happy Workers' Day in arrears. I mean, how was your Workers' Day?
We were working.
We were working. Were we? We were? We were. Yeah, we were. Essential services. But then Workers' Day has become such an occasion for most people in Nigeria. You have to carry the labor of surviving Nigeria and pretend like it's all working while the unions are really not helping. Let's take a look at this here. This, well, donkey, this ass here, represents the Nigerian worker. But these are all the challenges a Nigerian worker has to go through. And this is like me. There's rent and a quit notice waiting for you at home. There's school fees. There's food prices. There's transport fares. There's tariff. And your minimum wage is what is it now? 90,000? 90,000, yeah? I think so. I mean, how do you bear all of this as a Nigerian? Well, hopefully, we had a conversation about this yesterday. And we talked about the fact that the unions don't seem to be helping out. Well, Nigerians, hang in there. But then again, like I always say, it's always in your hands. And your vote, well, that's your power. Let's move on to our next one, shall we? Now, our next editorial cartoon for today for our strips. This one here, hang on, it hasn't changed. Move, producers. Thank you very much. So, do you remember a couple of weeks ago, Queen, where Amukita was accused of putting out a certain tweet that seemed to curry favor for the APC, assuring victory for the APC, after which he had to investigate, or INEC had to put out an investigative, piece about what they found out regarding the tweet. Do you remember?
I do.
Yeah. So now that's what this is referring to. Only this time, it's referring to it in the elements of the elections. See his INEC jacket there. And can you see those pieces of turd on that side and under the table?
What did you call it?
I can't say the word. Feces. And then his quote here says, "I have investigated myself and couldn't find X." I think X is for a word we can't say on the air.
Yes.
But you know what it means. And there he is with the magnifying glass and the flies all around him. It seems to be saying something smells fishy here. Or the other word. I like this because of what it signals, what it's telling you, what it could be saying about 2027. Are we really going to be seeing a very fair election? Or are we going to see one where INEC itself is going to be the judge, the jury, the sentencer, the this and that? Is it going to be fair? Well, I don't know. One thing to absolutely take note of, and I'm going to let you speak on this, but be careful, Queen, is the broom in the corner.
You saw it.
What is the broom?
See, he said he had, if you can just take me out and put it clearly so I can see. It says, I have investigated myself. I couldn't find X. You couldn't find X. You couldn't fix anything. But basically, if you use a broom to sweep, everywhere will be clean. If you can't find some little pieces of debris, if you have the, what is he holding again?
A magnifying glass.
Thank you. You will see every single thing. So it feels like, you know what, you're dodging it. You're saying that your hands are tied, but it's not, because all the mess that you're trying to find
I'm
is
going to bring you an even much more implicative view. Are you ready?
Tell me.
What is the insignia for the APC? Thank you. Now you get it. So it would seem that this is suggesting that the APC seems to be engineering everything that's going on. But these are just editorial strips. Hey, I'm just interpreting. I'm not saying anything. Let's take our very next one. It begins to get more interesting as we go. You're going to see. So our next strip, by the way, this is Business Day, and this is Sukwa, if I'm not mistaken. Another Business Day one again, and Okpara this time. Lagos Coastal Highway. Let's take a look at this closer so I can tell you. Now, look at the details of this picture here. You can see the boat. You can see the skyline of a city and a car that's damaged there in the background. It's very interesting that these should actually be in the same place, because they're not supposed to be. And what this is really pointing to is infrastructure promises versus environmental reality. The cartoon is simply just telling you, it's directing a jab at the Lagos Coastal Highway, and which of course is widely associated with development's ambition for the Lagos state government and the federal government as well, since they are backing them. But Lagos State Coastal Highway has sparked plenty of debate lately. Environmental impact has been one concern, and of course, what it's displacing. Is it really good for the environment? Lagos has been suffering plenty of flooding lately, and it's saying that perhaps maybe that was an overly ambitious project, because we are yet to see the impact of what it's going to do on the environment as we suffer rising sea levels, flooding inside of the towns, and all of that. And the signpost there, Lagos Coastal Highway, rephrases it as something that is, well, deceptive. I won't talk too much about this, but I think we wait to see maybe in the next couple of months the impact of the Lagos Coastal Highway or Highway. Well, perhaps do you want to talk about this? Because you use this road every day, don't you? Or at least almost.
Not every day, but I've been on it. And you know, it's close to the Bar Beach, and of course it's close to water.
It's close to what, Bar Beach? There's no Bar Beach again. What year are you talking about?
You see, Bar Beach has been subfield, but it's close to the water. And you know, every time it rains, we know what happened to the VI.
What's it like when it rains on the Coastal Highway?
Huh?
What is it like when it rains on the Coastal Highway?
Well, it hasn't rained to the point where we're concerned, because the highway wasn't there when, you know, the VI and the Lekki were flooded. But now rain is coming, so we'll see. And then we'll know if it was really planned or not.
We will see. We'll see. Let's take our next one now. Our next strip is from Bola Ahmed Daily Trust. Now, Bola Ahmed said, two rams standing side by side. Notice what they're wearing. Court regalia. They're lawyers, which is very interesting, and I'll redefine that for you in a minute. Let's look at the quotes on top of them. One says, see how they are all confused about the Supreme Court's decision. And then the other one says, the more they argue, the fatter our fees. Now, let me try and analyze this for you. Take a look at what they're wearing, and take a look at the creatures that are depicting the courts. These are rams, by the way, and rams are not known to be friendly with each other. Normally, they're always fighting each other. Remember, like when it's time for the Muslim holidays, you come out to see, when we were kids, we used to come out to see them duel. But only this time, they are in agreement. They're in agreement for a very interesting reason. Clearly, this is pointing to disputes around decisions of Supreme Court in Nigeria when it comes to the party leaderships. Legal ambiguity often fuels prolonged dispute. And for these guys, prolonged disputes is financial gain, whether you like it or not. Just keep it going. Let them be arguing. We go share, they make money. That's what it is. The punchline here, the more they argue, the fatter our fees. It's blunt. It's like, hey, confusion is profitable when it comes to the law system, when it regards politics. So the justice system risks being seen as a resolver of conflict, but it is not a resolver of conflict. It's just a simple money-making machine at this point, especially for the justices. I didn't say it. That's what it's depicting. You want to touch on this? We talked about this inside of the monologue, and of course, I think we're going to be meeting this through the week. Before we go to this one, do you want to chime in?
No, you kind of said everything. And of course, it feels like, you know, they're taking the money because they're like, this case you're bringing to me something you can fix. So why are you bringing it? But anyway, I'll take your money and still tell you to do the same.
Yeah, and we'll leave it very ambiguous so that you people will be confused. So you come back again for explanation. And that's law hours. Let's move on now. Moving on to our next one. Thank you very much, producers. Sorry, we had to spend a little bit of time on the last one. Father-daughter kitchen table conversation. I like Bola Ahmed because what he does is he constricts the very big issues into just small discussions and gives it to you very lightly. You understand it. Daughter says to father, Dad, Tinubu thinks insecurity is a political weapon against him. Father says he thinks it's about him. We are in soup. Now, this is generalizing, taking every single instance in Nigeria and making it about him, about politics, politicizing issues where Nigerians, everyday Nigerians, are simply just trying to survive. The cartoon is saying the elite conversation is about politics, blame, it's about perception. And ordinary citizens, well, what we're thinking is we just simply want to survive all this one. All this one you're saying, please, I beg. That we are in soup there is a very crucial remark because it shifts the issue from political debates to lived crisis. We are the ones going through this insecurity, not you. Stop making it about you. Nobody is trying to engineer stuff just to make you look bad for the next elections. Please, can you refocus and bring us security? That's what the citizens are asking. That's what this clip here says. You got something you want to tell?
Well, it's very simple here because you can't say it's about you saying things like that feels like, you're trying to be selfish. There's insecurity. People are dying. It's not a movie. It's not a theater performance. It's real. There are challenges we're facing and you can't make it about yourself. You have to make it about the people. That's why we put you there, so that you care for us, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it seems the focus is on 2027, so anything goes. If I get anything, I'll weaponize it. Is it insecurity? Weaponize it. Is it bad roads? Weaponize it. They're spoiling the roads. I'm trying my best. You guys aren't seeing what I'm doing.
We need glasses.
You need glasses. It's rhetorics from every single instance that we have in Nigeria. I think we have enough room for one more. Let's take a look at this one here. This is a business day again. Honorable, we are preparing already for next elections. We are taking no chances this time. What it's simply saying is this is how Nigeria prepares for elections. Can you see the background there? Political thuggery workshop. And you can see the figures. One is sparring with boxing gloves, the other one bottles, some of them guns, others lifting weights. Whether you like it or not, we've seen this happen. Thuggery is actually a machinery for elections. And I've been in certain spaces where people say, don't worry, if it doesn't work out, we'll just send guys there and scatter everything. I've actually heard that. I've actually heard it, But this is the situation in Nigeria where the focus is less on policy, less on election, less on votes and actual grassroots politics, and more on force. And not just force, but force that can harm even the people itself it's supposed to be protecting. It's sad, but it's Nigeria at the end of the day. Asuko, thank you very much. That's a very interesting one. Do you want to chime in on that one, Queen?
It's just sad that this is how our elections always end up. There's always an argument. That's how it starts, that's how it ends. And then Nigeria's like, well, anything they give us, we'll take. So I just hope that 2027 really comes with the renewed hope that they've been selling to us. That's all. Let's hope.
Thank you very much for joining me inside of the strips. Our producers are sending us another one. This one is nice. It's very simple. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Madam, I hope you understand he may not be able to pay off these loans even till he's dead. Madam says, you know what? You can even have the one inside of my tummy.
Just take.
And there, that little boy there in green, white, green is looking, do I really need this money? Do you know what this is saying? It's Nigeria mortgaging the future of its young ones. With all the loans we're collecting from the IMF, there's only last week there was consideration for another one, and here we are again. How exactly are we going to pay back? We were here last week. We talked about this last week, didn't we? Regarding the loans that Nigeria was going for. And here's the thing. It's not just the young ones from today that might have to pay for that. We're even mortgaging the future of the unborn. That's what Okpara is trying to tell here in this strip. It's sad, but it's our reality. You blame people for wanting to leave Nigeria at this point, have their kids outside the country. Yeah. Your thoughts?
As you know, we may not be here to see Nigeria pay off all the debt.
I don't think we could. I don't think, because I mean, we have that conversation today. We're going to be talking about Nigeria's debt profile with Dr. Makri, so you want to join us so that we have that conversation in full. Now, that would be the end of our strips if the producers don't pull a trick on us again. Thank you very much for joining us. We do this every Sunday. We gather these editorials and try to see how we can decipher them. Do stay tuned. We've got our very first conversation coming up inside of Breakfast Extra. We'll be back.
Welcome back. And now to one of a very tragic story. A tragic and deeply disturbing incident that happened in Lagos a few days ago has raised emotional and psychological questions about how well, as parents, do we pay attention to how our kids and their thought process on how they view the world. A 17-year-old UTME candidate, Thompson Adams, was murdered by his friends, ages 21 and 23. The teenager was reportedly abducted and murdered in the Ikorodu area. The State Commissioner of Police, Fatai Tijani, said the suspects, identified as Elijah Emmanuel, 23, and Tony Ogenata, 21, were arrested on Monday. Both were said to be known to the victim in what investigators describe as a premeditated crime.
Very sad. Now, initially, findings indicate that the subjects allegedly lured the teenager before taking his life, in a case that has shocked families, communities, and the education sector. Authorities say the suspects were tracked and arrested following intelligence, and investigations have also linked them to a previous kidnapping case. Our correspondent Victor Mbadike was following this story, and let's take a look at his special report from through the week.
We said the guy should come and pick up a laptop to use and do work and all that, because I'm a producer, and we said we should come and pick up a laptop he can be using, which was all a lie. We never had a laptop we were willing to give him. We just wanted to lure him to come. So before he came, we went out to buy a Ghana must go, a big Ghana must go, and we bought chains and padlocks. So when the guy was coming, we already had a cutlass in the house, and my associate, which is the victim's friend, his own weapon was a stick that he had nails nailed on to it. So when
So you all planned to kill him?
Yes, we both did. But at first, the intention wasn't to kill him.
21-year-old Tony and his accomplice, Elijah, may have thought they had found a shortcut to wealth, but their alleged plan has now landed them in police custody over the kidnapping and killing of their own classmate, Thompson Adams.
At the scene of the attack.
According to police investigations, the suspects allegedly lured the teenager to their apartment with the intention of demanding a 200 million naira ransom from his family.
They brought me
But what began as a desperate plot to escape poverty reportedly ended in tragedy after the victim was killed in captivity.
So when we had him changed to the ground, we made videos and took pictures of him, which was intended to send to his family. And then when we made the whole video, my associate called me inside the room, and he told me, he said, Tony, we have all the videos and the pictures we need now. But as I mentioned, this guy is a friend of mine from long years back, and he knows me, he knows my auntie, he knows everything about me, he knows my family, which if we let him go, he will definitely bring his people to and that will leave a trace to him, and if they have a trace to him, will also implicate myself, Anthony. So he said we should silence him, which means we should kill him, that we should not let him go. I went behind the victim and I held him from behind him. I choked him.
Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Tijani Fatai, says preliminary findings revealed the suspects had allegedly been involved in similar criminal acts in the past, assuring that they would be prosecuted accordingly.
We have it on record that from them, during interrogation, they confessed to the fact that same incident occurred November 2020, November 30th, 2025, that they equally murdered one lady, a female, and after collecting 300,000 naira as ransom from the parents of the lady. Barretta pistol
The police command says no fewer than 118 suspects were arrested across Lagos in the month of April for offences ranging from kidnapping to armed robbery and cult-related activities, with several exhibits recovered during operations. In Lagos for News Central, Victor Mbadike.
Very, very touching story there. Very ridiculous, quite frankly. I saw that and I couldn't. So we had initially scheduled Victor Mbadike to join us here, but unfortunately the assignment he's on right now has taken him off of our schedule. And we also spoke to the parents of the victim, who were also supposed to be here but cancelled as well. That's unfortunate because we were really looking forward to get deep into the depths of this very unfortunate instance that's happened. What are your thoughts?
This is pretty sad because there are different layers to this. So first off, this is a classmate. So this is somebody close to you. It's not a stranger from afar. So meaning this person knows your routes. They know what you do. They know what you eat daily. And, you know, having to profile this boy to say, oh, he's from a wealthy home we can extort. That's to show you the mindset at which, again, we read something about how creatives are trying to go viral. You see, they say they're upcoming musicians. Everybody's trying to grab that money so fast, so quick. It's like somebody coming into media, for example, like, oh, I want to be like Mazino, but you've had 20 years of hard work to be here. So this idea of fast tracking into wealth in, you know, in the youth that we have these days is very troubling. So you're profiling your classmate because his parents have money, which now they've realized that the money that they might have is not what you think. And then you've killed him, and then you didn't get the money. And you could tell the way the boy was narrating, he was well-spoken.
Very well-spoken, which is...
and, you know, he narrated it like a storyteller.
I mean, his English structure is pristine.
Yes.
It's almost like... I mean, I'm seeing a potentially brilliant Nigerian that could have made something with his life. Gone to waste, quite frankly. But the matters are even deeper for me. It's not just the fact that they kidnapped their friend and all of that. It's the fact that insecurity has now come home to meet us.
Yes.
I don't want to say it was glorified, but the whole kidnapping thing, I mean, this is where it gets to. There was an issue or instance like this, think if it's Brazil or so, but the way the Brazilian government attended to it was drastic. It was, they put their foot on the ground, and I think that didn't last for longer than a year or two. They had kidnapping issues. But we have instances where we actually glorify kidnapping. We see TikTok videos of kidnappers showing off the monies that they've gotten. I mean, what do you think the kids are going to think? This is what's going to happen. If we don't take care of these issues or these instances, it will start to look glorious to the kids. And this is what it's going to result in. It's that simple. Insecurity is now coming home inside of the towns. Ikorodu, this is not Zambisa, this is not Kwara, this is not Kogi, this is not Borno. This is inside of Lagos, inside of Ikorodu. So that worried me a lot. And there's even more. You said something very interesting before we came on. You can't even show off anymore. You shouldn't in any case.
You can't.
But just publicly expressing yourself is now a problem.
It is a problem.
Because people will profile you, and that can lead you or land you in trouble. So it's very worrying, and I'm very, very sad. Saw the story only.
How they've planned it, you know, they bought a Ghana must go.
They bought chains.
They got chains. They went to the POS. You know, they took money. So now it's a whole lot of, you know, connections. How do POS people know what they're collecting money for? Their own is somebody transfer. They collect their charge, not knowing what is happening behind the scenes.
If deterrent is not...
It's layered, and it's something that we need to nib in the bud. Like you said, it's home. And a few weeks ago, they talked to Judiciary about the rape academy where husbands are raping wives and then, you know, saying it's content. So it's like the whole world has gone crazy because this is 23 and 21.
That's very sad. Very, very sad.
It's sad. It's terrible.
Very unfortunate that we were unable to get the parents whom we had hoped would join us today. But,
and Victor as
I'm
well.
sure that we'll be able to bring them on other shows here on News Central. So look out for that. We'll be talking with them perhaps. And maybe if Mbadike can join us on later, we would revisit this conversation and have him give us the details and the findings that he went through. That's as much as we can cover now with the limited personnel resource that we have. Let's take a break and we'll come back for our other conversation.
Welcome back. My name is Queen Celestine, and these are the headlines within the hour. Let's begin with political development in Nigeria, where chieftain of the African Democratic Congress, Buba Galadima, has raised an alarm over alleged assassination plots against key opposition figures. Galadima gave this warning during an OK Movement Unity Summit in Abuja, saying that the ruling party is becoming more and more desperate. The gathering brought together supporters of Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso to harmonize strategies for what they termed a national recovery mission aimed at dislodging the ruling party from government.
And I dare say that there would be a Moses and Pharaoh that will contest election with the APC and defeat the APC if we are not careful. As desperate as these people are, they may even start to kill or assassinate some of our leaders. Put it on record that I said so. If anything happens to any of our leaders from ward, local government, state, and national, please don't wait for any explanation. Just accuse them.
Bauchi State Governor Bola Ahmed has defected from the People's Democratic Party to the Allied People's Movement. The announcement was made on Saturday at the Government House in Bauchi. The governor appeared alongside APM National Chairman Yusuf Dantale after a closed-door meeting with stakeholders. Party officials say discussions leading to the move were concluded earlier in the day. The APM says it is working to integrate new members as political realignments gather peace ahead of future elections. And in the meantime, the factional national leader of the African Democratic Congress and member representing Yagba East, Yagba West, and Mokpamoro Federal Constituency of Kogi State, Leke Abidjide, has announced his resignation from the ADC, citing deepening internal crisis and legal disputes within the party. The lawmaker says the decision followed months of uncertainty over party leadership and what he described as deliberate efforts to frustrate his political ambition ahead of the 2027 elections, accusing David Mack and others of employing delay tactics that stalled the case despite accelerated hearing granted by the court.
Recently, on the 14th April 2026 to be precise, I was purportedly proclaimed to be suspended by the people who want to reap where they did not sow, as being expelled. I wish to say that I have willingly and voluntarily exited and had since extinguished my membership of ADC by constitutional method permitted under ADC Constitution. My political structure has put machinery in place to actualize my political ambition and further provisions of dividends of democracy through a platform that can accommodate that vision.
And former Cross River governorship candidate Senator Sandy Ono has joined the People's Democratic Party presidential race after purchasing the nomination form at the party's national secretariat. Ono, who represented Cross River Central in the Senate from 2019 to 2023, says his decision follows consultations with stakeholders and supporters across the country. He described the party as central to Nigeria's democratic development, adding that recent internal issues have been addressed to strengthen unity. The PDP leadership acknowledged his entry into the race and reiterated its commitment to a transparent primary process. Meanwhile, Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo has extended consultations with aspirants and stakeholders across Kogi East and West as part of efforts to ensure a peaceful and united approach ahead of party primaries. At the enlarged meeting, which brought together over 150 aspirants for national and state assembly positions, the governor emphasized unity, dialogue, and collective responsibility in strengthening the party. He noted a shift from past political tensions, describing the current atmosphere as one of cooperation and shared purpose, and many aspirants already stepping down their ambitions in the interest of party cohesion and state development.
Once upon a time in this state, nobody will consult, nobody will call you. By now, you hear gunshots, brothers and sisters fighting themselves. But today we have over 150 aspirants seated in the same hall, rubbing minds together on how we can provide joint solution for our states. So I interface with them, but at the end, we all resolve that we are going to come out strongly. And there, so many people have dropped their ambition for the state to move forward. So that is just it. We are good, and APC is making a leadway. It's a template that Mr. President has laid, and we are building upon it here in Kogi State. Thank you, and God bless you.
What we have come to do basically today is how to achieve a very rancorous-free primaries. And I know by the grace of God, come May, when we are carrying out our primaries, we shall come victorious so that the party can be stronger, so that we can deliver for the President of the Federal Republic, so that we can also deliver during the governorship election for our own amiable governor, and so that we can deliver in all our elections.
The entire people agreed with all we've agreed to do, and that is peace. At the end of the day, come out en masse to, bring out votes for Mr. President, to enable our governor to, raise his head among the committee of governors.
Now we head to Delta State, where the Federal High Court in Warri has adjourned proceedings in the case involving detained Okwama community leaders to May 19, 2026. The development comes nearly 2 years after the March 14, 2024 killing of 16 soldiers in Ughelli South local government area, which triggered a military crackdown. News Central's Austin Azu reports.
Nearly 2 years after the deadly incidents, the Okwama community is yet to recover from the aftermath of the military reprisals that followed the killing of 17 soldiers. The operation left the community displaced, homes destroyed, and several leaders detained by the military.
This is a two-story building, belongs to Reverend Father Sylvester Enoma.
Despite panels of inquiry set up by both the military and the Delta State government, the findings are yet to be made public. For residents, the delay continues to raise concerns over accountability and justice. At the Federal High Court in Warri, community members returned to pursue bail for detained leaders as legal efforts continue to secure their release. However, proceedings did not hold, and the case was adjourned to May 19th.
Also, another event that the bar appealed to the court. The Nigerian Bar Association Ephraim branch is having its law week today and tomorrow. And so it's for these two reasons that the court did not sit. And like I said, we are grateful to the court. So today the matter is now adjourned to the 19th day of May 2026 for hearing of pending applications. Our appeal is simple. Government should obey the order of court, produce the detainees in court.
The adjournment has drawn criticism from community representatives and robust stakeholders who are demanding the unconditional release of those in custody. They argue continued detention could limit political participation ahead of the 2027 elections.
Our plea is that since this is a civil government, not military, the presidency and the government of Nigeria should obey elementary law of if you are suspected to have done something, you defend yourself. You bring out yourself, defend yourself. Then you can be found guilty or not guilty. In this case, 2 years.
The order that court will give, an arm of government, the judicial arm of government, a democratic government, will give an order as far back as June 2025. That order has not been obeyed for once. This is about the 5th appearance after that order was given. There is no time that there is a near compliance with that order. That's why I said there is a limit to human endurance. I do not want to repeat what has been said, but to say the least that Okwama people are suffering, the Ewu Kingdom is in pain. We are in agony since March 14th, 2024 till date. We only pray and hope that let this agony cease from this moment. It should not be escalated because we can't bear it any longer.
For 2 years, they have been adjourning till date. The Robo youth are worried. Recently, there was a video that trended to the fact that they have been murdered. And this signal fear in our hearts that could this be true, that they are murdered, even though we wish not to believe it to be real.
Where are the reports of the panel? That's what we should be asking. The military is sophisticated enough, experienced enough, and they have all the resources to turn in their report within a few weeks, let alone months. And now this is more than 2 years. It's sad. And all this boils down to the fact that the Orobo nation is greatly undermined. They are taking the Orobo nation for granted. There are some ethnic nationalities in this country that they cannot try this thing with. So I'm calling on all the traditional leaders. We have 24 kingdoms in the Orobo nation. If the 24 traditional rulers can come together, if the UPU can stop being a rubber stamp and come together and declare with one voice that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Nigerian military should release the Okwama indigenes, or else there will be no election in Delta Central.
Expectations are quite high as residents of Okwama and Ewu Kingdom look forward to the next adjourned date in court. In Delta, for News Central, Austin, Azu.
And that's all for the headlines within the hour. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, Breakfast Extra continues. Stay with us.
And you're welcome. It's our second hour here for Breakfast Extra. Now, let's talk Nigeria. Nigeria's growing debt, actually. Nigeria's growing debt profile is once again at the center of national conversation, following recent remarks by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who defended borrowing as a necessary tool for economic growth, insisting that if we have to borrow, we borrow. Borrowing is not leprosy. We just have to work hard to be able to pay for it, he said. And here's a video from that context. Well, while we're waiting for that video, we will be playing it. It's not everyone that agrees with his position. Former Kano State Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi has also cautioned much of what he has said. He cautioned the continuous borrowing without structural reforms and that it won't help solve Nigeria's economic challenges. He has also raised concerns about the long-term implications of subsidy removal and fiscal policy choices, warning that without productivity and revenue growth, debt could become a burden rather than a solution. And I hope we can show you that video in just a bit. But, Queen, you go.
Well, so at the same time, former presidential candidate Peter Obi has gone even further, arguing that borrowing for consumption is not just harmful, but dangerous for the country's future. In his words, Mr. President, borrowing is not only a leprosy, but a killer cancer. when it is borrowed for consumption and not production, as it is in Nigeria today. Obi said so. The big question is Nigeria borrowing to grow or borrowing to survive? And what does this mean for the country's economic future? And we're hoping to have those videos being played before we're joined by our guest this morning.
Let's take a look.
If we have to borrow money, we borrow. It's not borrowing is not a leprosy. We just have to work hard to be able to pay for it.
While we figure out if borrowing is leprosy or not, we're joined by Professor Anthony Killer, Director General of the Commonwealth Institution of Advanced and Professional Studies. Professor Anthony, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yes. We're also joined by my co-host, Mazino. I did not introduce him earlier.
Yeah.
But let's start with this borrowing not being a leprosy. Professor Anthony, from the president's position, that borrowing is not a problem if it is used productively, like he said. But in Nigeria, in our current reality, do you agree with this framing?
Well, I think, the borrowing is not leprosy. I agree with that. But I also believe that borrowing can lead to bankruptcy if it's not well managed. You know, right. That's the whole point of the issue. How do you manage borrowing? In a private life, there is a stigma to borrowing, where, you think borrowing is due to desperation or poverty. But in corporate and public life, it's not really that way. The rule to borrowing in corporate life is that if you borrow, you must be able to pay it back. So you must borrow for something that will generate capital and also interest. The issue in public life is a bit more complicated to the extent that it is not just when you borrow, can you justify what you're doing with it and can you pay it back? There's also the issue of trust. Are you borrowing and stealing the money, looting it? Are you using it for the people? Those are the issues that are linked to public borrowing, and I'm sure you want to delve into that more.
Professor, this morning we had a strip from one of the dailies. I'm hoping that the producers can put that up. It was one of a pregnant woman who was mortgaging her son to the lenders. She was pregnant, by the way, and she said to them, hey, you can have the one in my stomach as well. We thought it was a very apt way to depict the Nigerian situation currently. You can see it on your screens right now. The white men, of course, you know who they represent. And the son there is kind of like Nigeria's future. And the lady is telling her, hey, you may as well have the one in my tummy. Now, when you talk about borrowing, you have to think about the fact that it has to be repaid. If you look at Nigeria's fiscal behavior currently, would you say that our borrowing is strategic versus whether it is borrowing for survival?
No, I think it is not, I must say. I think, we don't have a long-term plan. We seem to be borrowing as we go along. I would rather we have a long-term plan to say, not even that long. Even if it's 4 years, to say, in the next 4 years, these are the major things we want to do, and it is how we hope to raise money for them. Will be a way. I must say that there are two things I do not like very much. I consider them, if I can do without them, I will do in public finance. One is borrowing, the other is taxing. There's an alternative, which I think we're not looking at enough, which is private partnership and privatization. We could make our assets work for us as much as possible to reduce the level of borrowing. The borrowing thing is a financial argument. It's an argument you have in finance and economics. Some people will tell you, why not, as long as you can pay for it. But I think when you deal with public good, you must also manage perception. In Nigeria, people are worried that the debt you take today, their children will pay for it tomorrow, and the country will be weak. But in reality, and above all, they're worried that the money taken, people cannot see what it's being used for. I do not think it's really the debt and the interest that worry Nigerians. I suspect that it is accountability of what is done with that money that worries Nigerians.
Well, so Professor Anthony, I like that you've gone to the part where you've said exactly what I feel a lot of citizens are concerned about. A lot of Nigerians are well-traveled. So when they travel, you see basic things like transport, light, water. It's not really an issue. But then when you come back home, those are things you're concerned about. So at what point do you think that our government will look into these things and bridge a gap? Do you feel like the next leadership we're looking into election, do you feel like it's something that they're going to focus on? And do you think they'll be transparent enough to say, okay, we've borrowed this and this is what we're doing? Because so far it's like Lagos Coastal Road is the major thing they've been telling us that they've done.
No, I do not have placed my hope in politicians and public officials. I think if anything is going to happen, it is because we, the people, citizens and consumers, intellectual and the media, it will be because we force them, we set an agenda and we stick to it so that we ask questions before elections and we force them to give answers that will tie them. And then when they're there, we continue to monitor them. I do not believe that by themselves they'll do the right thing. Politicians do the right thing only because they're forced.
So, Professor Anthony, you're talking about citizens getting involved. We've seen situations where people speak out and, nothing is done. Let's go back to NSAS. It's like, I feel like citizens are also concerned and scared. So if we get to the point where they are not able to argue, what are the consequences Nigeria face if this borrowing continues and then we're not seeing anything done?
Well, two things. Number one is that it is not true that when citizens talk, they don't get results. They don't get results all the time, but they get results sometimes. So we just need to keep trying. That's the way, You talk about NSAS. I mean, the SARS thing is not there again. That even was too extreme to get the result. But, it is not there. Leave it in Lagos and you travel the toll gate that was protested again. You will see that they've not returned it. So citizens' action work. But if we do not do anything, which is part two of your question, what will happen? If the debt continues to increase and the debt is not generating enough interest to pay for it, we're going to be poorer and be more in debt. So that's a bad place to be. So what we need is a group of people who are going to think it through and say, how do we reduce the debt, reduce the interest, and increase our productivity? That's the kind of conversation we ought to be having now.
Professor, I don't know if you saw that chart we put up just now. Can we put that chart back up, the one with the three presidents and how much borrowing they've done? Let's take a look at what the current president has borrowed. Producers, if we can put up that chart, I'm hoping that we can have it up. But it shows that...
a very red one.
Yeah, a very red one. It's a very tall chart. It's so tall. So, Lamido Sanusi, there it is. You can see the President Tinubu, that's $9.31 billion. Buhari was only at $690.5 million. And Jonathan was just 681.03. But it seems to have more than doubled, in fact, tripled since since Tinubu's been the president of Nigeria. So Sanusi Lamido also argues that without structural reform, borrowing will not solve anything. But my question is that what exactly are these structural reforms Nigeria is currently missing that could help our situation? You spoke about an alternative. If you can also get back on that and tell us what the alternative could be. But first off, these structural reforms were missing.
Oh yes, before saying that, it must be noted that of these three presidents, Tinubu is the shortest, and yet his debt profile is the highest.
Yes, there's space for jokes here.
That's the kind of you don't want to miss. To the point you made, it's important to notice that if you borrow, just like an individual, if you borrow just to eat, you're hungry and you borrow money, and you're hungry again and you borrow more money, you're digging a hole. If you're going to get out of the hole, you need to use the money you've borrowed to get a job, set up a business, start selling something, or start producing something that will be enough for you to eat and save and pay back what you're borrowing. Rather, that's the kind of adjustment we need today. If anybody asks me what's the biggest infrastructure adjustment we need in this country, it will be power. Very close to power will be human capital development. We need a nation where people have the skills to produce and to offer goods and services. We need electricity for them to be able to do it. We need security so that people can actually love, trade, learn, and worship in peace. These are the activities that will save us, that will generate income. Tax for the government, prosperity for the people. We need to start thinking on how to generate revenue. That's, for me, that's why I'm against debt. Myself, if you can show me that debt would create jobs, and that will then pay taxes and generate revenue, I'll have no problem for it. There's something must be said. In the First Republic, when Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa was head of government, he did make a proposal to borrow money, and in that proposal, he not only stated how much he needed, he showed what he was going to do with the money, and he showed how much that infrastructure would generate. I think we need to return to that kind of way of managing our public finances.
Earlier, Professor, you also talked about private partnerships with private institutions. I wanted you to go back to that and tell us. But before you do, note that Nigerians are not exactly the best people when it comes to paying for what they use. If you call for private partnerships with companies or institutions that could help with infrastructure, Nigerians don't like paying tolls. Before you know it, it's going to be another protest on that. Doesn't that call for a reorientation of the populace itself? That's on one hand. And doesn't it seem like the president does have a point here? If I have to borrow to make it work, then so be it. Then it's not leprosy.
Well, so there are three things there. Number one is reorientation is never too much. You can keep reorienting people as much as you want. But let's be very careful. The protest against the toll gate, the Lekki toll gate, is not because of the amount they're paying. It's because people who are alleged to have been killed there. Nobody likes paying toll in the world. Nobody likes paying tax. But you pay it because you have to, and you pay it because you have the advantage. You see the advantage, and you use it. If I were in government, what I would do is this. Since you're talking about toll gate, for every toll gate, I will leave an alternative that will be longer than the toll road, so that you have a choice. You're not totally forced. It's as simple as that. It is not true. This idea of thinking that Nigerians are different, Nigerians are complicated, is not true. It is just leadership, laziness, and forcefulness. Nigerians are just like any other person in the world. It's just the environment that changes us. So that's not true. The other point you make, well, the president will say that because I believe that the president and the economic team of the president are not as creative as they ought to be. If I was in that room, the kind of ideas we'll be discussing will be different. My idea will be that if we want to build a bridge, if we want to build a road, before we go borrowing, before we even take money from our pocket, I would ask, is it possible we find an alternative way of financing it? Can we get people to finance it and they pay later? Build, operate, and transfer. Can we use some of our assets to raise money to do it? This is not even borrowing before dipping our hand into the coffers of government at all. I would guide jealously our treasury and explore many alternatives before even putting hand in government money. Then number two, before even going to borrowing, I will seek if we can leverage things before doing that. But this is a political economic argument. It's a different approach to governance.
Yeah. Well, Professor Anthony Kila, thank you so much for joining and having this conversation. And we hope that the right people get to see this conversation and put into consideration how best the country can be managed in our debt and borrowing. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Professor.
Good being with you. Wow.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break. Oh, it's you on screen. Okay, back on me. Let's take a quick break. We've got more conversation. We'll be back on Breakfast Xtra.
Welcome back. Now, today marks World Press Freedom Day, a day set aside globally to recognize the importance of a free, independent, and responsible press in shaping democratic societies. This year's conversation focuses on the critical role journalism plays in promoting human rights, strengthening development, and safeguarding national security, especially in an era of misinformation, digital disruption, and shrinking civic space.
From holding leaders accountable to amplifying the voices of the vulnerable, the media remains a powerful pillar of democracy, like it or not. But across the world and even here in Nigeria, journalists continue to face challenges ranging from censorship and harassment to economic pressures and safety risks. In a rapid changing media landscape, questions are now being asked. How free is the press? How safe are journalists? And how can the media continue to serve the public interest without fear or compromise? We're now joined by Martin Soloja, journalist and media consultant. Thank you very much for joining us, Martin. Good to have you here.
Good morning. How are you?
Very fine, sir. Very fine. Now, you want to go? Yes.
Well, I wanted to say Mr. Martin Soloja is the former MD and editor-in-chief, The Guardian and Fellow, and Nigerian Guild of Editors. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Now, sir, let's begin. How free is the press? Let's start here at home and let's expand it to Africa and then the world. We're seeing a situation where there's less decorum as the world progresses, and journalists who are supposed to at least bring the details to the people fair are being pressured not to be able to do their jobs. Let's start with that. How significant is World Press Freedom Day, and how free is the press currently?
Yes, thank you very much. You know, the World Press Freedom Day is quite significant in so many ways because it's an opportunity to reflect on the way we practice the media, on the way we do our job. It's really quite significant, and to see the state of the world, how world leaders accept us. But freedom within the context of our own country, Nigeria. Yes, there is freedom. On one hand, you will see it on paper that press is free. We are free. We are discussing this matter now. Nobody is constraining us. But you mentioned some things before. You mentioned something, maybe press censorship. Yes, censorship you see every day. Nigerian Guild of Editors, Nigeria Union of Journalists, or Nigeria Press Organization. We issue statement about some journalists that have been arrested by police using, say, cyber stalking. Some even individuals who even collaborate with police to arrest journalists while doing their job. Some are still in detention. Some unless you cry, you will not even know that they have been arrested. It's really very, very, very frightening to note some of these things. And then the most significant thing that actually suppresses press freedom in Nigeria is this economic pressure that you mentioned. Many people may not even understand what you are talking about, economic pressure. As a newspaper person, I have managed a major newspaper in Nigeria. Right now, people need to know that the newsprint that we use in printing newspapers is imported from Sweden or Canada or Germany. It's not available in Nigeria. So at this time, you need foreign exchange to be, especially euro or dollar, to be able to bring in this. If you buy about 2 million worth of newsprint now, you cannot use it to print more than 1,000 newspapers. And if you need this thing every day, what of energy mix? You cannot use our own national grid system to print any newspaper because in the cost of printing, there can be power outage. So you need to buy diesel every day. You know now this is more than 2,000 per liter. You need to buy this every day. What of your television people? You too, you cannot use national grid to do a transmission. And you pay the platform owners like DSTV and others in multi-choice to use DSTV to transmit whatever you are doing. And you, among other things that you need to import to do your job. The economic pressure is making us to be in chain of some sort to some political leaders. You know some ministers who do live transmission. We have to run after them from time to time to be able to get some money from them. These are people we should question about the way they do their job. But we do not have the freedom to question them. Some we do transmission for 4 hours, for 3 hours, 2 hours. Our live coverage of even events that are not significant in the eye of the people. But you have to do that to be able to have some revenue, to run your station, to pay, to handle overhead that is so heavy now, and to be able to pay people. Really, freedom is not divorced from freedom from the financial freedom. If you do not have freedom from political actors to do your job, you don't have any freedom. If you do not have freedom to reach the beat, you don't have freedom. NTA used to have this slogan that you cannot beat our reach. But I used to tell them when I was doing some program with the late James Sadu, I will laugh about that. But you cannot reach the beat. You can't beat the reach, but you can't reach the beat. Right now, it's very difficult to practice in Nigeria because of economic pressure alone. That is what they use to control content. Because some of these people will be owing you at the time they are owing you, you can't ask them the real question. They send people to even talk anyhow, anything. Every morning for breakfast meeting, for morning show, for anything. That you cannot ask them the right. Even if you ask them the question, they are questioning you for questioning them, to the extent that even they are now issuing statements from the regulator that this is the way you should ask questions. You should not harass this. You don't do that. It's part of economic pressure they are putting to bear on the freedom of the press. So freedom of the press cannot be divorced from the freedom you have to do your job. It's not about legal constraints or anything, but the economic pressure is too much. I know it because I migrated from newsroom to boardroom and to manage human resources comprising money and men. So I believe that we should appeal to the authorities that they should look at media products as educational products.
Yeah.
Recently, educational products.
Well, Mr. Oloja, you said so much, and to be fair, I had no idea that the paper for newspaper is being imported. So you've clearly stated that economic issues are one of the major issue for journalism. But now we're seeing the rise of social media and citizen journalism. Everybody have access to phone and recording. Would you say that this has has improved press freedom, or do you think because of social media we have a lot of misinformation going around and creating new risk?
No, definitely. You have said it all. Social media, advent of social media has democratized access to information. But that is not enough. You see the risk you are talking about. Misinformation, disinformation, people creating fake news all over the place. But that has not actually taken the real steam out of the serious media organs, the traditional media, the legacy media. Social media has actually democratized access, but has not been able to take away the importance of the traditional and legacy media. We're talking about citizen journalism now. Citizen journalism, yes, every citizen is now a journalist. Everybody is now an editor. You also have access to the internet. You create your content. You do all sorts of things. But this content that is being created within minutes like that, it has made journalism to be a form of conversation. All editors have lost some powers, but they have not. Today, if you wake up and then you will not find television station, and you will not find newspapers in the street, even where people felt that newspapers and the legacy media have died because of social media. You see that in India, they still print up to 12 million copies of, 1.4 billion people. They still circulate up to 12 million copies of the Times of India. Even Jerusalem Post, where they have access to some of these things like that, with their small population, they print a lot of newspapers. In some parts of Africa where the economic pressure is not there, they print a lot of newspapers because people still want to see the crisp newspaper. People want to watch television, to watch debate, and all those things that social media cannot do so many of these things like that. Whatever they are doing, you can't take everything. Like we are feeding people with information now that shapes democracy. You can't do everything online. so many people will still have to listen to the television and watch television, listen to the radio and all those things. They will not die. It's just that the problem here is the raw materials to do production is really very, very expensive. It's very expensive to have access. It's very expensive to pay for platforms to be able to transmit all these things. Yeah. And the state actors who should reduce this pressure are not helping matters at all. We keep having all sorts of meetings with them. They will promise that they will look at tariff structure. They will look at this one to ease the pressure, because in other lands, they look at media products as educational material. So they just reduce tariff on this through fiscal policies. But in this place, they will even they don't want the legacy media at all. If you practice something, somebody will be teaching you how to do your job. Why are you talking like that? Why did you ask that person like that? Why did you cast this headline? How did you do this thing? Because of the way we are managing politics and policies here. Because our political leaders do not like good journalism, and good journalism matters to feed democracy.
So,
if you do not have good journalism, you can't feed democracy.
Mr. Oloja, I think the next question I wanted to ask is, the paper that we import, is it that we're not able to make them here in Nigeria? But please, before you answer that, let's go on a short break. When we return, we continue this conversation. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Breakfast Extra. Before the break, we were talking about Press Freedom Day with Mr. Martins Oloja. Now, Mr. Oloja, thank you for staying with us. Before the break, I was asking you to please explain to us why we were importing paper for newspaper. Is it because Nigeria were not able to produce the type of material needed to, print a newspaper?
I mean, we get paper from timber now, don't we? It's from trees, and we've got lots of that, don't we? So I'm also interested in the economics of press freedom as well. Why can't we produce these papers here in Nigeria and we have to import them from Switzerland? Sorry to take over your question.
It's okay.
No,
Queen.
it's a very good question. Once upon a time, as we used to say in the primary school, we had a newsprint manufacturing company in Oku Iboku in today's Akwa Ibom. But it was privatized, as they were privatizing so many things in those days, like Nigeria Airways, they did privatization and commercialization. Then when it got to privatization, so many Nigerians bought so many things, like they privatized the company, they privatized even the Iwokmi paper mill in today's Ogun State. But after privatization, all these companies died. The newsprint manufacturing company is there, just like aluminium smelter company in the same Akwa Ibom state. All of them died. Will you say aluminium is not necessary? But somehow that is a story for another day. But yes, we used to have newsprint manufacturing company in Okuiboku, today's Akwa Ibom state. But the firm died, and just like that, and nobody has tried to revive it. It's only discussion from time to time, but it's not been revived, and it cannot be revived for now, as Nigeria Airways, aluminium smelter company, among others, just disappeared like that. And just like even fertilizer company in One, River State, NAFCON, used to be the only company everybody knows. NAFCON was bigger at a time than oil companies in River State. It was a big deal, but NAFCON died. If you are old enough to remember NAFCON, it died the way Okuiboku company, newsprint manufacturing company, died.
So, Mr. Oloja, we had a conversation earlier where we're talking about, best way where Nigerians where we're always borrowing, the president is borrowing, where we don't have to borrow. And, the professor talked about privatization. But now you've talked about privatization in the sense that it has affected media and it has affected a lot of things in Nigeria. So how do we move past this? Would you say that the problem we're having here is accountability and, not following through?
Yeah, the foundation is leadership. John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. It's leadership. As we are talking now, look at the consensus building that we are talking about. So many governors want to return to the Senate. And the governors are trying to manipulate. They have given them the power to manipulate everything. Nobody is talking about Nigeria being an entrepreneurial nation. Nobody is talking about how to revive some of these dead companies. Even the governors from Niger Delta area, where all these companies, NAFCON, newsprint manufacturing company, aluminium smelter company, and all those things, nobody is thinking of how to revive them. Even the medical doctors who have been governors, not many of them are putting heads together, like Uduaga and Governor Uduaga, the then Governor Uduaga, a medical doctor, Governor Mimiko, a medical doctor, Chima Roke, Nnamani, so many of them, they have never thought of how to put the resources together and build hospitals where people can be treated here. We still spend a lot of money. Some of the money we even borrow. Our political leaders use the money to treat themselves abroad. Yeah, these are the issues. Leadership. Anytime we want to do political recruitment like this, you will discover that people will say, "Oh, I'm not interested in leadership." People are not interested because of poor leadership. And in a recent paper I made and an article I wrote in my column, and I asked a question: if you are too big to register to vote, you are too big to be interested in political movement or political party, if you are too big to participate in the political process, you are not too big to be ruled by mediocrities, by morons, by idiots, by so many of these thugs who are now seizing power. In the same vein, we use this kind of opportunity to get our elite who go to complain, who specialize in lamentation. Lamentation is not a strategy. People who lament should participate in the process, because at the root of why Nigeria is down and almost out is poor leadership at all levels. At all levels. Nobody is thinking of how to fund education to quality in a way that it will be delivering a service. We will have capacity in the universities. Look at what is happening. Nothing is happening. So at the root of what is happening to Nigeria is poor leadership at all levels. Everybody, the governors want to make a Senate a retirement home. They are not thinking of how to build light factories, small-scale enterprises in their states. And from 8 years, they will be telling you they are in China talking to investors. Where are the investors? Where are the investors they have been going to look for in Canada, in China, in Southeast Asia, in Singapore? They go everywhere looking for investors. Where are the investors? Why can't they work with some of the investors after leaving office? Why? Politics has become like a profession. It has become like a trade here. Everybody is into politics. People who are abandoned because of high cost of production, because of exchange rate and all those things that they themselves cannot manage within the political party system. They are asking everybody to go into politics.
So, Mr. Oloja,
it's really very painful.
So, Mr. Oloja, we've seen situations currently across Africa where authorities are brazenly now even suppressing press freedom. They're putting journalists in jail. They're attacking journalists. They're scaring the entire press corps. Let's put it that way. But I'm wondering the role that government institutions must play to be able to protect journalists while also ensuring that they give responsible reporting themselves.
You know, we will be waiting for Godot. That is, we will be waiting for Godot that will not come. That's a 20th century play by Beckett. So, by Samuel Beckett. We'll be waiting for Godot because Godot will not come. We'll be waiting for Godot if we want them to put legislation in place or all those things. We have been having this discussion, but I see that in Africa, because of poor capitalization of media generally, except the ones supported by some foundation from the West, or some of them, like in South Africa and in Kenya, you have some very powerful organs because some people support them from the West. Except you have your poor capitalization. You are asking all these African leaders that have slowed down progress in Africa, who are asking China to build even ECOWAS for them, ECOWAS secretariat, who asked China to build a secretariat for them in Addis Ababa for AU. Others African leaders cannot, because of poor offering from Cameroon to so many places in Africa, because of poor offerings in leadership, they cannot do anything that will make press to be free. It is the media owners that should ensure that they get enough capitalization to be able to confront the monster that we have in leadership in Africa. But when we are expecting them to do something to lessen this thing, I said to you earlier that if it were possible, African leaders would not even want the legacy media that will be asking them questions. Because what is journalism? Journalism, the news is what somebody somewhere is trying to hide. That's the classic definition. The rest is advertising. So when you are trying to, they hide a lot of things. Leaders in Africa, even business leaders, hide a lot of things. When you want to bring out what they are hiding, there will be some form of friction. There will be some disagreement. There will be big fight. News is what somebody somewhere is trying to hide. The rest is advertising. This is it. And they won't want this thing in Africa. Look at some Western organs. Despite the fact that the leaders are saying you are fake news, you are this, you are that, after blasting them, they have the capitalization because it is the success story in the organized private sector that actually enhances press freedom. Look at the capitalization of Apple alone. Look at the capitalization of Facebook, capitalization of X, capitalization of so many technology companies that can help press freedom through advertising, through so many of the products that they sell. But in this place, in Nigeria, for instance, which is the most populous black nation on earth, how many private sector organizations can actually help capitalization to enhance press freedom? The answer is blowing in the wind. And it won't blow for so long because you find a Dangote, a big company, is even facing pressure, economic pressure. Because and that one is a story for another day. How many other companies, the banks are helping, but the banks, they are struggling. What is the total capitalization of the banks in Nigeria? Even compared to even one bank in South Africa, for instance. And all those things. Poor capitalization, our poverty is so much here that the leaders will continue to use this one to suppress press freedom. They will put it in your face. They won't give you advert. Who gives them the power to say that? They give them the power because of the way that our leaders see themselves. They will deny you advertising support. They know that they have limited your freedom. They have limited your capacity to operate as a media organization. So this is what we should face. We'll be waiting for Godot. If we want our leaders in Africa to organize an operating environment that will ensure press freedom, it's waiting for Godot.
Wow. Mr. Oloja, you've said so many things, and it's really mind-blowing, to see, the mishaps and the corners in which things are, being tight for the press. Now, looking at, the next generation, you've been in media for so long, but we have other generations coming in. For the young journalists that are going to enter this profession, what are the biggest challenges you think they should be preparing for in today's media landscape? Like you said, news is what they don't want us to know, but it seems like they only share what they want us to share. So what's your take on that?
My take is that the young ones who are coming even through the social media, they should continue to pursue the news. They should continue to pursue authenticity. They should not engage in fake news because you see that even state actors always use this fake news construct to destroy credibility of the media. So young ones, first and foremost, should read very, very well. They should not be interested in reading comedies and tragic comedies that will make people laugh. These are not serious things that will go to the root of, for instance, death body, to be asking questions. They should use the social media, and the media owners should be interested in this. Investigation. If you have the resources to do thorough investigation, there is nothing these actors can do. But usually there is no money. We don't have the resources in the newsroom to do thorough investigation. So young ones coming should be putting pressure on their proprietors, or if they are proprietors, they should look for money to do independent investigation. Nothing prevents anybody from collecting data on how they are using. Look at budget, for instance. He's doing a lot in following up on that my brother Onigbide, Shehu Onigbide, and his own people. They are doing a lot to follow up. What we in the media should be doing, following up on appropriation details, budget details. They say they use money they have borrowed money to do this road, to do this from this to that. We are not tracking how this budget performance can be reported. We are not tracking it. We do not have the resources to track it. If you want to bring down strongholds in a country, like they did in 1971 to 74 with the Watergate scandal, it cost them a lot of money. It cost Washington Post a lot of money. Even in the Philippines here, the journalistic legwork that the World Bank has adopted now as framework for investigative journalism, the legwork that brought down the government there, Joseph Estrada, cost $8 million. And they did it, and there was nothing that anybody could do. In 2001 here, the journalistic legwork has been adopted. So it costs a lot of money to do investigation. What kind of investigation? You are going to investigate how certain things how certain things are happening in a state. Then the press secretary or the commissioner for information will be the one to provide hotel accommodation for you, to buy a flight ticket for you, and you are coming to investigate something in the state. What kind of journalism is that? And I think young ones should shun this one and do their own independent work and shun fake news report in order to get the hit or the following or this link economy. They say, oh, how many people have viewed the story? The story may be fake. This one will not deepen democracy. It will not help fighting corruption and tracking accountability in Nigeria. So I believe that the young ones should have knowledge of the system, should find some resources to be able to do investigation that will bring down the strongholds that have brought Nigeria to its knees at this time. If they succeed in killing journalism, Nigeria will not rise. And I think proprietors of the media, whether print, electronic, social media organs, if they continue to have this romance with the state actors, some of
Mr. Oloja,
we will not rise. So they should take note of that.
Yes.
Mr. Oloja, unfortunately, we have to end it here because we are out of time and bleeding into the next hour.
Well, but thank you so much. This was a really interesting conversation. It's an eye-opener for everyone that's watching. So thank you, Mr. Martins Oloja, for your insights. And look, like you said, and as we're marking World Press Freedom Day, it's a reminder that a free press is not just about journalists. It is about the right of every citizen to be informed, heard, and protected, and not spread fake news. So thank you for joining us. And let's go to a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation in the last hour inside of Breakfast Extra. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Final hour here for Breakfast Extra. Now, Nigeria is stepping into a key leadership role on the continent as it assumes the chairmanship of the Africa Union Peace and Security Council for May 2026. The position places Nigeria at the center of critical conversations on peace, conflict resolution, and regional stability across Africa. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Nigeria remains the only country with continuous representation on the Council since 2004, a reflection of its long-standing role in continental security and diplomacy.
And having last held this position in December 2022, the country now returns at a time when Africa faces complex challenges from terrorism in the Sahel to maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea. Key priorities for this session include counter-terrorism strategies, strengthening the African standby force, and improving coordination among member states to tackle emerging threats. But beyond leadership, the question remains, what impact can Nigeria truly make in addressing these persistent security challenges? We're now joined by Dr. Dennis Amakri, National Security Analyst.
Dr. Dennis, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Queen is hiding it now, but she's always very excited to see you on screen.
I'm always excited. But of course, let's start. I think the first question I was asking Mazino before we started was, why Nigeria, knowing fully well that we have a lot of insecurity in our hand, what does it mean that, for Nigeria to chair the African Union Peace and Security Council at this time?
Thank you for having me. You see, like you said earlier, Nigeria has been on that council right from inception. And of course, there has been this little rivalry between Nigeria and South Africa, but I think it's rotating, and this time they felt that May 2026, it should come back to Nigeria again. So I think that's the basic reason.
We are, like Queen has just said, we are also experiencing our own bit when it comes to insecurity. How does this center Nigeria, where you have your challenges, but you are the head of a council on peace and security? I don't know if it really works well. That's one. And then Nigeria has maintained continuous membership, yes, on that council since 2004. But how important is this consistency in shaping continental security policies?
Well, you might say that the person that is working is the person that knows more about work. So Nigeria has been challenged seriously, security issues. And then, of course, Nigeria is coming seriously with a lot of institutional experience, to give. The only problem is that the AU has been very, it has been slaggering, so to say, because they've not even showed their impact properly on the continent of Africa. Nigeria is coming in because, well, maybe they want to drag Nigeria back into action. Otherwise, you find out that the continent has been split into pieces where the regional economic groups are more concerned with what happened in their region than as a whole for Africa Union.
Right.
It's also very interesting because of the geographical nature where Nigeria is placed. We're right next to Benin, of whom we assisted only just a couple of months ago. But then again, we're under the Sahel belt with the countries that have chosen to go by way of military rule. So looking at this strategically, how well does this, once again, center Nigeria for this chore?
I think maybe I should say that it's a credit to Nigerian leadership.
Oh, okay.
They feel that Nigeria could lead this, Basically, you see that we are surrounded by all the French-speaking countries. Remember, Benin is also on the council. Cameroon is there. Gabon is there. South Africa, our major rival, is there. And then, of course, Algeria. So maybe they feel, I don't know how they come about it, but they feel that Nigeria is well positioned to handle this particular problem at this time.
Right. And of course, one of the agenda included counter-terrorism as one of the focus. What practical strategies do you think Nigeria should push for during this chairmanship to address terrorism more effectively?
I don't know. Like I said, maybe Nigeria has the experience that it's having, because they're going to draw up a 5-year counter-terrorism plan. And I think Nigeria can contribute a lot to that particular terrorism plan.
So, sir, I've been following the Middle East crisis religiously lately, the Strait of Hormuz, and how that has become the bane of existence for everyone in the world. And I'm wondering, in an African context here, maritime security is also on the table here when it comes to the purview of Nigeria as the head of this council. And I'm wondering how critical the Gulf of Guinea is to Africa's overall security architecture at this point.
Well, I was even surprised that they didn't include the Gulf of Yemen around that area, which is very, very volatile with maritime militias from Somalia and Kenya. You know, the Gulf of Guinea itself is very, very also a problem area where you have a lot of Nigeria's oil being frittered away. They are still stealing the oil. And then, of course, besides oil, the marine, the blue economy, you know, where even boats from China are coming to, you know, harvest our fish. The Gulf of Guinea is known for, you know, one of the breeding places for fish around the world, especially prawns. The largest prawns that they serve in top hotels all over the world is coming from the Gulf of Guinea. And, you know, that security there is something that maybe the African continent want to look at because, you know, people from different countries come and the navies, you know, are trying to arrest them, but it's very minimal.
And then the African Standby Force has long been discussed as a solution for rapid response. How realistic is it its full operation?
Out of all the agenda that they have, you know, I think that is the most critical, you know, where the African Standby Force has not been very active. Because you find out that since 2013, you know, they have, of course, they set up the African Intervention Force, which is, what do they call it, African Capacity for Immediate Response for Crisis. And then, of course, that was like an ad hoc body, but it didn't... it was not very active. And then, of course, the African Standby Force came up in 2019. And, of course, it has so many problems. Funding, command and control, location, all kinds of problems, logistics base, you know, problems that it has been facing. I don't know whether they're going to, you know, really do something about it because with Nigeria there, like I said earlier, they are busy with their ECOWAS and South Africa Development Council and then, of course, the East African Economic Council. So I hope this time they will come together, but it comes back to the major issue, funding. Who is going to fund it? You know, even during ECOWAS, it was Nigeria that funded it. And I don't think Nigeria is really ready to go back funding things again.
Right. So, Dr. Makri, from all you've said and all we've discussed, there's a bit of, there's hope in your voice as to, you know, Nigerian, you know, in this leadership. But what specific outcomes should we expect from Nigeria's, you know, 1 month leadership? You also talked about, you know, coming up with a 5-year plan. What would success look like?
Well, I hope they come up with a 5-year plan. And then, of course, with the different threats that are available or facing Africa, they should come up with a serious plan to face these things. The war front has changed. The threat level have changed. You know, the threats are new. You know, right now we're dealing with Boko Haram and all kinds of things which are not there when the African Standby Force was originally formed. So the design have to be really different. And I hope they can do it. 1 month is a very short time to do that. But let's see what they come up with. I don't think the African body, AU, has been very, excuse me. AU has been very effective. But let's see what happens.
Well, Dr. Dennis, I'm also wondering, before we let you go, one final question from me at least. How can Nigeria leverage diplomacy now? How can it leverage on partnerships and the intelligence sharing we've been talking about all year to be able to strengthen regional cooperation at this time?
You have to realize that Nigeria is not in very good terms with the AES states. And the AES states are also part of AU. So I hope that they are going to mend fences. Excuse me. These regional bodies are not very, very serious. Like I said, command and control has been a problem. So exchange of intelligence is also going to be a problem. So I hope they are coming into this with a new mind, a new frame of mind. Otherwise, I am not very optimistic about the outcome.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Dennis Makri, thank you so much for taking out time and, waking up early and joining us to have this conversation. It means so much to us. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, now let's go on a quick break. When we return, we have our last conversation inside of Breakfast Extra. Do stay with us. Welcome, and I believe this is our last conversation inside of Breakfast Extra on the Sunday edition. Now, Nigeria's security crisis is once again at the center of national debate. But this time, it's not just about the rising incidents, it's about who is being blamed. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has recently pointed fingers at political opponents, suggesting that some insecurity narratives are being politically driven rather than purely criminal. This comes following growing public concern over attacks in different parts of the country and questions about coordination in the nation's security architecture.
But the conversation took a sharper turn when former President Olusegun Obasanjo weighed in, stating that any government that cannot secure its citizens risks losing its moral legitimacy to exist. So the question now is bigger than politics. Is Nigeria witnessing a blame game or a deeper leadership accountability crisis? We're now joined by security governance analysts and, of course, none other than Charles Oludare, global affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Oludare.
Thank you for having me, Miss.
Grand. Let's already start. How common is it for governments to attribute security to political opposition, like we've seen here in Nigeria?
Yeah.
Is this something that happens everywhere, or what does it signal?
Thank you very much. Before I say something, respond to your question, I want to first state clearly that I'm a card-carrying member of the APC, so I am an APC supporter, right?
Right.
But you know that we, the APC people, we've been blaming the oppositions for pointing their fingers at us for their own internal crisis. So if the president is now pointing a finger at the opposition for security situation in Nigeria when he's the, chief security officer of the Nigeria, then isn't it ironical that maybe we are doing the same thing, that we are accusing them? I think it's just stone deaf. I believe that if we are to say the biggest political, opponent of the president, that probably it might be blaming, the name of that person is going to be President Bola Tinubu himself. And I'll try to make this case at this point chronologically. If we can recall December 5, 2022, before the election, the president went to Chatham House. And when he was asked about security, he told El-Rufai to respond, and El-Rufai did mention that we needed multi-level security. And then the president won the election, got sworn in 2023, May 29. And after about 11 months, that he hasn't done anything on the multi-level security, the Afenifere, led by Power Fashion Royalty, Royal Majesty Olufalaye, went to Aso Rock on April 17, where the most important demand that he made from the president was state police. And maybe people don't understand why these people might have been so concerned. Power Fashion Royalty actually lost a daughter in 2019 to attack in Ondo State. This is somebody that will be celebrating his centennial 100 years old in another 8 days, right? And His Royal Majesty Olufalaye, he was the one that ran against Obasanjo that was kidnapped in 2015. So they were directly, involved. They asked the president for state police. He said he has heard. Then, about 4 days later, IGP Egbetokun came out in 2020, in the same 2024, and said, we are not mature for state police. And the president kept him in place. That was April 21, 2024. Then fast forward to August, the Patriots, led by Chief Emeka Anyonku, came to the president to ask for the same state police. And the president said with his own mouth that he cannot have economic challenges and he will be facing political challenges. Now, if the president had known, he would have known that the security problem was not just a political situation when it comes to the restructuring, but it was both a security and an economic imperative, because if you don't have multi-level police, you can't secure your country, your interior. If you can't secure your interior, you cannot grow your economy. So I don't know why the president did not know that. Not until the Americans came disturbing us, talking about Christian genocide, did the conversation about state police resurface. And then March this year, the president then eventually let Kade Betokun go, because that's what I call him, he's full of it. And then now we are talking about state police. But this is something that we should have done from the get-go. So the president blaming his political opponent, he should blame himself. He should point the fingers at himself for having delayed on what he stood for all along, even before he became president. But for President Obasanjo, opining that a government that cannot secure its people or does not deserve to exist, I do agree with him. But what should we say about a government that, endangers the lives and safety of the lives of people and property, right? That endangers the safety of people and property. What should we say about that? Because maybe you don't recall, but in 1979, before I was born, President Obasanjo was the reason why Fela Anikulapo Kuti sang, "Them throw my mama out of from window, them kill my mama." Fast forward to 2007. President Obasanjo was the same reason why Timaya sang, "I say they don't kill it, them mama, So the only thing I can say about President Obasanjo is that I pray for him to have long life until when a generation that wants to bring accountability will come to power, and then we will face music.
Well, Charles, it's funny how we're both.
I don't believe he has.
Well, Charles, I said it's funny how we're both singing Fela songs this week. Yesterday I sang Zobi. Yeah. But before we continue, there's a clip where President Tinubu was making a remark, at which let the producer play that, and then I'll come back with a question for you.
You are playing to the hand of agents, including my own enemies, who want to use insecurity to get rid of me. I'm a very stubborn politician. I just refuse to go. And I will campaign for my second term.
So, Charles, President Tinubu's remarks have been interpreted by some as shifting responsibility. In your assessment, and you give a very fair submission, by the way, do you think this is helping or this is weakening the public trust in the president?
Yeah, both of you are right, Queen and Mazi. I think it is definitely tone deaf, at least tone deaf, because people are losing their lives, and you are saying what is most important is your opposition attacking you. If your opposition wants to attack you by putting the lives of people in danger, then you should stand as the shield that will protect the people from the opposition who is trying to endanger them. This is not the first time that the opposition has supported policies or things that put the lives of Nigerians in danger. We can remember during the Naira redesign that I took CBN to court during that period, where they essentially told Nigerians that all the value that you have earned is worth nothing. And a lot of people died. And the president fought against it. And then when he won, he returned all that money. Everybody is living their normal lives right now. Even though the opposition then, both Peter Obi and Atiku supported it. If they are trying to weaponize the security against you, is it not your responsibility? Why are you talking about it? Act, restructure immediately. You don't even need to wait for the constitutional amendment. You can give an executive order for all DPOs to be in charge or to be controlled by the local government chairman, and all state commissioner of police to be under their governors, and the IGP should answer to maybe Wike in Abuja, and then you have already delegated pending the time that they are going to pass the constitutional amendment while you are still financially supporting it, and you give them operational control. Think about what happened in KB, where the governor, who is supposed to be the chief security officer of the state, could say that we got intelligence that they were coming, and then some people posted the soldiers. If the governor had control of the police, will he be able to say that? If you restructure or you give the control to the locals of the police, if there is an attack in any region, you will point out to the to the local government chairman of that area that what is happening in your local government. There will be accountability divided into all the 700 and what, or maybe 1,000 and something local governments that we have.
Right. Well, Charles, now that you've said that, let's talk insecurity deep now. When insecurity like this persists, where do you think we should be drawing accountability from? Should it be from the federal government, the security agencies, or is a broader system failure altogether?
It's a very broader system failure altogether, Queen. And I want to also give a particular perspective that a lot of people don't focus on. In 1999, when President Obasanjo won the election, got $1.5 million according to some report from Dangote and Co. He decided to close the border so that Nigeria was going to be Dangote and their friends and all the other cartels, Lebanese cartels and Co. were going to be the only ones supplying commodities in Nigeria. Now, if you recall in the President Obasanjo's last engagement, he said Shehu Yaradua told him that if a woman is cooking in Niger Republic, he will send her daughter to go and buy salt in Nigeria that she wants to use to cook that food. So after closing the border, what happens to the economy of the person selling that salt to that woman in Niger Republic that he always knew? That economy of that person has been destroyed. Idle hands is the devil's workshop. That was what created the economic situation that enabled Boko Haram to be able to recruit ab initio. It was the smuggling, because once you block something, people will still smuggle. It was the smuggling networks that have been reported that have been used to smuggle a lot of all these arms into Nigeria, which worsened after Libya got destabilized in 2011. So all these things trace back to the same region, to the same man. And if we look at the economic burden of this, let us just look at not salt, sugar, flour. Let's just look at rice alone. In 2024, out of the about 7.4 million metric tons that we consumed in Nigeria, 2.1 million metric tons was imported. At the 70% import duty rate, that was about $1.4 trillion, which is equivalent to about $835 million. That is more than what we went to borrow from World Bank to do social intervention. That is the money that Nigerians transferred to Nigerian federal government in order for them to be able to eat rice. Now, if we didn't have to pay this money, that money would be in circulation, would be sustaining the economies, and we will not need to borrow the money. But we can also assume that the remaining 5.4 million metric tons that we consume was sold by at least that 70%, because that is essentially what the price umbrella is. If they are importing it with 70% import duty and they can still sell, that means the person that is making it locally can still sell at that margin. So if you calculate the extra amount of money that Nigerians are spending on just rice based on import duty alone, it is about $3 billion extra that we didn't need to spend, that would have been helping our economy, that would have been helping to deter the poverty and the abjection that is pushing a lot of these young boys into the hands of Boko Haram. Because once they learn about Boko Haram and banditry and they start making those undue amount of money, it is difficult for you to put that genie back out into the bottle. The toothpaste is already out of the tube. You can't push it back. So these are so many of the other multi-layered things. I hope, because the new Minister of Finance has said it for a very long time, he made fun of even President Trump that he put import duty on goods from China, and then he discovered that Americans were the ones paying it. So I know he has been against all this protection, and I think maybe that it might be a saving grace for the president that now that he has been, anointed the Minister of Finance. But the president has endorsed him, he needs to support him. Otherwise, we will still be where we are. Because these things go beyond just the kinetic, effects that we see. If we don't fix the economy, we will keep on creating pockets of banditry and insecurity. I was having a conversation with my colleague today. I remember when the former bishop of Catholic Diocese in Ondo State was attacked around 1994 when he was coming from Benin. This is way before Boko Haram. So there had always been this insecurity that has its roots in the Nigerian Civil War. After 1966, where all the regional police was like compiled, and then the military, wanting no resistance, decided to unify the Nigerian police force and put it under the military, right? So we need to, even in an environment where we are talking about people planning coup, the most important way to ensure that a coup will not succeed is also to have regional police men, because those governors will be in charge and there will be resistance, and the military will know that they cannot win if they want to, start a coup. So these things are much more interconnected and interconnected, right? So we need to restructure the police, and we need to do it between now and the next election. As a matter of fact, I believe when everybody is being distracted about AGC, NDC, or whatever, we should be talking about what is important to the Nigerian people, because that is what gets lost. We should ask for restructuring before the election. President, you don't restructure before the election, you don't get any votes.
Do you think that all that chatter is actually distraction? Do you think that these public exchanges between political leaders risks us distraction from the actual security operations on ground?
Yes, because they are not really talking about it. They are just attacking each other. It is their ego versus the ego of the people in power. Nobody is focusing on the most important commodity in Nigeria, which is the Nigerian people. Which are the Nigerian people? They are the most important. They are just attacking each other. And once the game starts, it will be my side versus your side. I was in the trenches also in 2023, attacking people, failing to talk about the real problems of Nigeria. If we can make this simple thing a campaign demand from all candidates, that zero duty on food or zero votes, we are going to have a better life. We are going to have a better security, both financial security and the real security of lives and property, because there is an undue burden that the government of Nigeria is putting on Nigerians. It's like President Tinubu's administration has his knee on the neck of Nigerians, taxing food out of the mouth of our children. According to UNICEF, about 2,400 children die every day from starvation in Nigeria. That is to say, within this hour, 100 children would have died within 1 hour. So imagine that, and the Nigerian government is still collecting 70% import duty on flour. They just brought it down to 40% or 49%. They are still collecting that amount of tax.
Based off of the first thing you said to us when we started this conversation, you highlighted your identity. You said that you are a card-carrying member of the APC, and I'm wondering what influence or impact these current situations will have on any card-carrying member of the APC currently when it comes to the elections in 2027. Maybe even yourself, if you would tell. What would it be for you? Would you still push this government and continue to ask them to do better come 2027 and further? Or would you have an alternative?
I am still going to push this government to, do better. I am not one of those psychopaths. I mean, but
you've highlighted so many details where they've failed. So when do we realize, I'm wondering, and this is an open question, I have no sides in this, I'm just trying to critique the logic of it. A government that has failed repeatedly, you've analyzed it very, very, you've highlighted so many details that I'm like, you should give a class. And then we get to this juncture and you say you will still give them a chance. So is this a general thing? Is this how Nigerians think we continue in suffering?
No, because I am making a logical decision right now. The reason I said this a few weeks ago, that the APC did more in support of democracy out of power than we did in power. And the opposition did a lot more to damage democracy out of power, because I am listening to the opposition and they are not going to be anything better. Anybody that comes to ask you that what is the price of dollar is only deceiving you. They are not being honest with you, because let me give you an analogy. I hope I have the time. According to what Dangote said with his own mouth, he got about $2.7 billion from CBN towards his refinery. A great investment that we needed. But if 2.7 million Nigerians needed $1,000 each, we won't get it from CBN. We will get it from Aboki. The difference in what we would have paid, 2.7 million of us, from what Dangote paid, is enough to pay the salary of all Ondo state workers for 10 years. Salary of all Ondo state workers, including the governors and their appointees, for 10 years. So should we still be thinking about multiple exchange rates, trying to bring us back to that place? So if positions were being honest and criticizing the president the same way I'm criticizing him, I probably would have, gone their way. I have no allegiance to nobody. I only want what is good for my country. I'm not living in Nigeria, but I'm concerned as a person. But when the price of food came down, because due to pressure, President Tinubu allowed some food to come in without import duty, what did Peter Obi say? He said it was bad that, we are hurting our farmers. But the economic question that you are going to ask is, what is the opportunity cost of us producing that rice in Nigeria? That is the $3 billion that I have told you.
Right.
Do you think that $3 billion, that there are enough people in the rice production that are earning up to $3 billion? No. So at the end of the day, we are losing. So that is why I cannot support the opposition, because they don't have better.
You've touched different industries, from agriculture to oil and gas. You've literally touched everywhere. My next question to you will be, what practical steps do you think, the government should take now, instead of focusing on, political messaging? What should they be focusing now to make Nigeria better?
They have to go back to the same thing that has always been known to fix Nigeria. You need to restructure. The two twins will not even get the same score in an exam. Why are you trying to put everyone under the same bracket? Let the state be able to generate their resources. Now that they are generating their resources, they have more interest in protecting their environment. Let them be able to control their security, their policing. We have so many other things to do. The president needs to focus on the ball, not talk about the opposition, just the same way they have been talking about him. Fix the problem of Nigeria. Restructure police today, and you start pointing fingers to the interior if there's any attack. And then you divide and conquer the problem. So if they don't face the music, I don't think the opposition has any chance of winning. They are already fragmenting, and they are still going to, so it's going to be the same mathematical problem they played in 2023. So that's even another conversation. But what the administration needs to do, what APC needs to do, we can amend the constitution. We have 31 governors. That is more than the 2/3 of the states that you need to amend the constitution. So you can do it. And state police is more than state police. It's about criminal justice reform, whereby you can have your local lawyers, your attorney generals from each state who will be prosecuting crimes, so that there will be no Baba or somebody calling from Abuja to influence a criminal investigation anywhere, which is what all of us have investigated. During 2020 NSAS, you might be surprised to know that I was not in support of it after one day, because I saw that the youth were just more for the vibes and they did not understand it. The solution to police brutality is restructuring the police. If the police in your local government is being controlled by your local government chairman, and that police should brutalize you, you have power. Because it is in your community, it is your neck of the woods. You can walk up to your local government chairman and say, this guy that you are paying his salary did this to me, collected bribe from me, and you will get accountability. But we saw what happened in Delta State. If not for somebody recording that video and it got, global attention, that those people might not even be arrested. And there's still no certainty that those people will be duly prosecuted. Because when I was in medical school in Obafemi Awolowo University, there was a policeman called Askari that killed someone in Ife. We thought he had been taken care of, that they've put him in jail. Fast forward like 2 years, some of my friends saw him in Ilobu, which is about a 45-50 minutes drive from Ife. The same policeman that killed someone in Ife illegally. So these people that we even saw that has been paraded, there is still no guarantee. But if that was something that is terminated within that community, they will get accountability. The people are just. The people want to be safe. The president should trust Nigerians to be able to protect themselves. And then we are going to solve these problems. If we don't do it, we are going to keep on this vicious cycle, and we are not going to go anywhere.
Charles, I must say that I have enjoyed listening to you. And I think it's a very logical step-by-step approach you've given this conversation here. Well, I do hope that your logic is also something that's shared by members of your party or the party that you support, because it will go a long way in aiding the situation that we find ourselves in Nigeria right now. Forget the chatter, forget the pushing of blame here and there, saying, oh, it's a manhunt. I just wish that this was the same thinking, the same concept that most politicians who are in power currently...
Forget on your mandate we shall stand. This is not time to sing it. Let us deliver that mandate to people.
Coming from an APC member, that's refreshing to hear. Charles, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. I've sat through it like a masterclass.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope we get to see some of the things you've said put into play in this current government.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Bye.
On your mandate. No, we can't sing that now. Interesting conversation there.
Conversation.
Yeah,
and I like the fact that he admitted that, he's APC, but he's talking about Nigeria as a whole.
Because he said something very interesting. Yes, he said, this is where we're failing. But then when you look at the opposition and you ask them, okay, what can you do better? They really don't have a plan.
Yes.
They're still fragmented. They haven't even put their house together to start thinking about a plan. Let's go back to a conversation that we had from before with Mr. Oloja, the same thing. When he talks about press freedom and all, you have to first of all have it in your mind that I want to give adequate, fair, real information as a pressman. Before you start pointing and say, no, they are not letting us, they are not letting us, they are not letting us. What about you? What about your own conviction? That's very important when it comes to politics, and it's something that's lacking so far.
And I think bottom line is we need to go back to the drawing book and restructure. You've seen a lot of things. There's so many things Nigeria could do. I'm so surprised that we're actually importing paper for newspaper. It's mind-boggling. But again, yes, we need to restructure. If we don't need to import, if it's something we can do here, let's do it. Let's save our country. But yeah, that's all for me today.
Yes, indeed.
I've spoken enough.
We finally come to the end of today's show, which is fraught with personal trials and all.
A lot. But thank you so much, viewers, for joining us on Breakfast Extra as always. Do make sure to tune in Monday to Friday to watch our trio, Olive, Joseph, Joe,
give him another name,
and Benga for Breakfast Central. And of course, we have other programs inside of News Central. Thank you for sticking with me and Mazino. Till we see you next week. Au revoir.
Bye-bye.